So this is our annual visit to the New York Armory. Megan has agreed to meet up with me every single year for the last decade. It's getting up there, actually. And so this time we have her friend John, who's wandering around out there, who's actually a conservator of sculpture, and so maybe he can lend an air of authenticity to these videos we do, because I know that I normally have no idea beforehand what's actually going to happen. John, what's your last name?
Campbell, like the soup.
Campbell
like
just started, used to work for MoMA as their sculpture restorer, now has his own shop. So my question to you today, John, is what is the difference between an artist being derivative and an artist having a conversation with the past?
I think everything we're looking at is responding to something.
But some of them feel like there's some interest, and some of them you're just like, what's the past?
Maybe they're too derivative. Maybe it's not thought-provoking enough. Maybe there's not a big enough gap between the reference to the other artist and what the contemporary artist is trying to do with that.
This is a takeoff on John Chamberlain, right, John? The crushed cars. This is it's on aluminum, yes. Olaf Metzel.
Oil on wood. Yes. Okay. So he's still working in oil. I mean, a lot of this.
Would you prefer it to be on egg tempera?
Egg tempera would be.
I think that would be taking this work up to the next notch.
This is Chinese art. You said you like Chinese art.
I like Chinese art when they're not influenced by the West. And you know, there's international style, right? The Western contemporary vernacular has infiltrated the art market across the world. I mean, sometimes you have regional, right? Like there's some interesting stuff when you get into like India and Thailand. The Chinese kind of cross over. There's some stuff where they still use their traditional mediums and their traditional ideas, and then they have Western influence. I feel like the Chinese in general are much better painters because they have a tradition of how to use the brush. What I don't like is I don't know, like the westernization of Chinese ideas. I find them hard to access. I wish they would.
I mean, he seems like he's struggling as much as he's smiling, so maybe that's also a comment on this disconnect that you're mentioning.
That's why we brought here John Imran Gorbachev. I was his studio assistant back in the late 90s after I got out of grad school. I worked for him for a very short period of time. He studied under Rothko. He knew Rothko. Yeah, that was
big shoes to fill.
Yeah, it was big shoes, and then his thing was doing these shaped canvases, all curved. This the legendary Frank Stella, whose career started pretty much in the 60s, right?
That sounds right to me.
So he's been making art for long. He must be in his 80s. He's got to be. And he's still cranking out some new stuff, John.
Yeah.
It
looks like he's working on AutoCAD and designing these new shapes.
Wait, is this being printed on the 3D printer?
He's printing it. I'm seeing these little burnished areas.
Which means that you cut?
I don't know what I'm seeing there.
You think it was assembled?
Oh no, I see the lines over here. There they are.
So pieces were printed, some pieces were printed and then it had to have been put together, right?
Well, the beauty of the printing is you can make these three-dimensional hollow shapes on the computer
in one go.
Print them out.
Do you think this was printed out of one run of whatever?
Yes, that's my guess. Yeah.
He always sort of like to curve a straight object and let you know that straight object got curved. This takes in perspective because it's sculpted in perspective, right?
In perspective.
Out of perspective. It's sculpted based on perspective.
Yes.
Is that the way you'd say that? It's sculpted. I don't even know. It's like you're looking at it at an angle. You know what this is a reference to? This is a reference to Hans Holbein.
Oh, very good.
The ambassadors, the skull at the bottom of the painting of the ambassadors.
I see that.
Right? I think McLean Thomas is another favorite, right? She appears usually a few times within a few different galleries, and she's been in every show we've seen for the last few years. I appreciate that she's not just used the beads which appear in her earlier work, but now she's working with these kind of different textures. And this. John couldn't explain to us is called turbulence, and
The longer idea is the last one.
glass marbles. I have marbles in my brain right now. It looks like it's moving around. It's like got an optical kind of effect. What is bad art anyway?
I don't know, what is bad art?
Megan, you know what bad art is?
Yeah, I know it when I see it.